Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Babylon 5 Retrospective. This week on the program, we are talking episode 14, Moments of Transition. We hope you like the show. But before we get into the show, hey, I've got to welcome my co-host, the man who would never read your mind without your permission. It's Cam. Say hello, Cam.
Good evening, Babylon 5 fans.
Oh, don't sound too excited. Was that a
Thrilled.
big sigh at the end?
Thrilled to be here.
Oh, great. Awesome. All right. Okay. Cam, do you have anything before we get into the show that we need to mention?
No, I think we're ready to go.
Ready to go? Okay. Let's just say a quick hello to everybody in the chat. We've got, who do we got today? Oh, it says we got 8 people watching. Hey, excellent. That's great. Great start off. But only of people who are not on the show, only Dave has decided to show himself. And of course, he sends greetings from the Narn delegation. Always appreciate greetings from the Narn delegation. Thanks, Dave. Everyone else, I guess the other 7 are hiding. That's okay. No need to, you can be ninja watchers in the background. That's no problem. No problem. All right. Okay. So I say, let's bring in our guests, our fellow panelists. And let's get right into the show. No need to wait. No need to waste time. All right. So let's first bring in, of course, Death Angel Shadow, one of our regular guest hosts.
Well, hello there.
And let's bring in our guest co-host for today's show. It's Madman.
Good evening.
Good evening. And hello, Jeanette's in the chat too. Hey, good to see you, Jeanette.
She's off tonight, right. So she's
That's
watching.
Right. Keep a good idea to keep an eye on your husband. Make sure he's not up to non-good. I guess that's the way I want to say it. Okay. Jason's here too, but okay, here he comes.
Hey, the gang's all here. Where's Dean?
And of course, one of our
next week
regular co-panelists, Jason.
Hi.
Hello, Jason. Say hello.
Well, I mean, if Jason can be on camera, I guess I can be on camera too.
You can be on camera if you want. It's up to you. Okay. All right. I think. Has anybody got anything? Any of the panelists that we need to mention before we jump into the show?
Trivia.
Well,
other than trivia.
Actually, right before that, Jeff gave it away a little bit, but maybe a special mention that this was the episode where Scott Adams appeared. And I had a nefarious plan, not a nefarious plan, actually just a regular plan to get him on the show for a spot. But sadly, of course, everyone knows that he has passed away. So,
So that was that Scott Adams.
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
A little hard to recognize him if you weren't.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for him to be there. The one thing, what I had noticed was that when he was trying to hire Garibaldi called him Mr. Adams, and then in the end credits, Scott Adams. I was like, well, that's an original character name,
right?
He was the guy who was trying the cat and the dog.
Yeah,
yes.
Cat and dog.
Yeah, you didn't get that.
That's why I chose the avatar I did.
How consistent that is. That Straczynski is so terrible at naming side characters. You know, you look at the credits, or even if you look at the guest list at the beginning of the show, you know, pilot,
Drazi Ambassador.
Was like, none of them have names. I was like, why? You could put a little effort. They don't have to have backstories. They don't have to have full biographies, but at least give them a name.
Well, they didn't have AI back then.
It makes it harder. It makes better for better trivia questions. So,
well, there's that too.
Yeah. Welcome, Keith. Good to see you.
So this is one of your trivia questions.
Speaking of trivia questions, let's get into trivia questions. No, that's not one of the trivia questions. I'll give that away. All right, trivia questions from last week. Anyone in the panelists, shout out the answer, or in the chat, shout out the answer when I read. What comedy duo is Londo not a fan of?
B.
Zooty Zoot Zoot.
That's no. Zooty Zoot Zoot's not their name.
Well, that's
wrong.
That's what Zoot and whatever the other one says.
But that's not the comedy duo's name.
Booty and Zoot. I don't know, something like that.
Rebones.
What does Ivanova check to make sure Sheridan is not crazy?
His coffee. Make sure. You're not
What sector did nothing happen in?
I can't remember the numbers.
83.
What does Sheridan exclaim after meeting with the League of Non-Aligned Worlds?
Woohoo!
Anybody?
Woohoo!
What part of Lanier is removed? His sense of humor?
Part of his lung.
All right, let's find out the answers. Of course, the answers are Rebo and Zooty are the name of the group. She checks his empty mug. Sector 83 by 9 by 12. Nothing happens. And he doesn't go woohoo. He says yes very loud. And
that's right. Woohoo is the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about
and
that.
Lanier, of course, not his sense of humor, but his lung is removed. All right. Welcome, Option Trader. Good to see you. Glad you made it. Good to see you. All right. Shall we move right into it, Cam, with the executive summary? Go ahead.
Sure. Episode 14 of season 4, episode 80 overall. Moments of Transition, written by J. Michael Straczynski, original air date May 19th, 1997. Minbari Civil War comes to its fiery conclusion. Bester makes an offer to an increasingly desperate Lita. Sheridan is compelled to act against Earth after receiving horrible news from Ivanova.
All right. And
that's short and just right to the end.
Well, that's what Cam does.
Know. No. I mean, description is.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Cam does. I'm the long talker. Okay, so the episode starts off with Garibaldi getting a message from Edgar's about this customs package he's got to deal with. Sheridan is there's a scene Sheridan's trying to get through to Minbar to talk to his girlfriend. They can't get through. And of course, on Minbar, Delin and Lanier are in some location. It appears to be a temple of some sort. And there's bombings. It's shaking and stuff. And there's a little bit of discussion. The warrior caste demands their surrender by tomorrow. Otherwise, the city's going to get wiped out. Dun, dun, dun. And of course, we go to the intro. There's kind of,
three?
I had it divided into three, but it's really two things going on. There's something going on with Lita, and there's, of course, the Minbari Civil War. There's a little bit of a side thing where between Zach and Garibaldi. I'll go through that first. That kind of ties in a little bit to the Lita stuff. So at some point in the station, Bester, our good friend Bester, arrives, and Zach confronts him, and at the same time, Zach sees Garibaldi up to, sneaking around with some sort of package on the side. He follows Garibaldi and gets blown off by him, basically, and so told, "No, I'm not telling you nothing. My people are confidential, et cetera, et cetera." And that kind of ends that little bit. I'm sure we'll see more of that later. So let's go through what Lita sees. We go through with Lita first. She's trying to get a job from a corporation at the very beginning of the episode, but of course she doesn't cover their insurance because she's not part of Psychor anymore. And as I mentioned, Bester arrives on the station. He talks to Lita, offers her a deal where he will, she can be part of Psychor again. She's got to wear the gloves and the little symbol. And all she has to do is give her body to science.
I want your body.
When she dies, they're going to cut her up and poke at her and try to find out what the Vorlons did to her, because Bester seems to know about that. She, of course, refuses. We then have a scene with Zach and Lita. Zach comes in, tells her, "Hey, you got to move to smaller quarters." She's a little bit upset by that, but not super upset. And then as well, Zach asks her, "Hey, can you scan Garibaldi? Something's going on with him. Scan him for me without permission." Of course, she gets pretty upset with that. She's like, I don't want to do that. I might do it if it was somebody else, but I kind of like Garibaldi. He was the first guy I met when I came to the station back in the pilot. And so, yeah. And plus, it's kind of illegal. She's not supposed to do that. So she kind of doesn't want to do it, right? She then goes to Garibaldi for a job, and he, of course, says, "I don't usually use telepaths, but, I could use you if you could use your empathic abilities to see in the around corners and stuff and know if someone's coming. That would help me when I'm doing my sneaky stuff around the station." And he says, "Hey, I'll give you a little bit of money for that." At the same time, they're talking about that. Bester comes by, scans Garibaldi without asking permission. Lita detects it and mentions it, and Garibaldi gets mad, goes after Bester to beat the crap out of him, and gets held back by
his former guys,
by the security guys. Yeah. And we see a little part where Zach confronts Bester after that, but that's it. He just says, "Hey," and then we go back to Garibaldi. He gets another message from Mr. Eggers, and he says, "Hey, I don't like telepaths. Fire her, or you got to quit your job." And we later see Garibaldi obviously firing her, and we also see a scene Bester talking about his he's put Garibaldi further along the path. I'm sure we could talk about that later, but that seems to be significant. Back to the Membari situation, we've got Naroon meets with Shakiri, who seems to be the head of the warrior caste. He gives a bit of a speech about what they should do, etc. And they also mention they find out that Delin surrenders. Naroon talks to him and says, "Hey, she's gonna give her surrender in this temple." And he mentions, "Hey, what do we need? What should we do with Delin afterwards?" And Shakiri says, "We're gonna have to. Maybe we'll arrange a little accident. Her ship will have to blow up on the way back to Babylon 5, something like that." We go through the whole surrender situation. There's this discussion about wisdom. And Delin makes a big speech about wisdom and how we should follow about how the warriors want to follow in the ancient ways. And if we do, that means this glowy beam from the sky, we have to go in there, and whoever is willing to die in the glowy beam, that means that they are more convinced about their way, and that caste should be the leader or should get to decide how the leadership goes in. Delin goes into the beam, and it seems to be painful. Shakiri is finally ashamed to step in, but he jumps out, and Naroon says, "Hey, I thought," she said she was going to jump out after Shakiri did, but Delin seems to be staying in there. She's going to get burned up or something. Naroon jumps in, saves her, takes her out, and gives her body to Lanier, and he stays in the beam, and he says, "Hey, I renounced my warrior caste stuff. I should have been a religious caste. I see how those things work now." So because of that, Delin gets to decide how the leadership goes, and she picks she sets up the New Grey Council, which happens to have 2 religious, 2 warrior, and 5 workers, and talks about how things should go there. And I'm sure we'll talk about that. And the last scene of the episode is Ivanova comes in to where Sheridan is. She's really upset. We find out that Clark has basically ordered the military to shoot down a bunch of civilian ships, and a ton of civilians are dead. Sheridan gives a speech. It stops now. We will go to the colonies, to Mars, and then to Earth. So it seems that we are starting the Civil War against Earth is going to go into high gear. So, and that ends the episode. Cam.
Okay, I think the A plot here I would say is the Minbari Civil War storyline, and then we've got the Lita, Garibaldi, and Bester ones are kind of B1, 2, and 3. They kind of intersect and such. So, why don't we start off with the Minbari storyline first this time? I sometimes leave the main storyline to last, but I think this one's a pretty good one to handle. Jason, are you well versed? Are you up to speed on everything
Yeah.
leading up to this?
Yeah, I've been watching. I find it interesting that Naroon is the whole, heel turn, secret agent, guy on the inside type of thing, and
He's a triple agent in a way.
I found myself not believing it from at the beginning of the episode. I was like, hold on, because it seemed like when you get one or two episodes back when he and Delenn are talking on the ship before the war breaks out again and the warriors decide they do what they're going to do, they seem to have reached an understanding. And they're sitting there going, things need to be done different. We got to do some things different. We got to figure these things out. And they seem to have reached an understanding. And then suddenly Naroon's like, let me twist my mustache. And then in this, you get this one line of dialogue between him and Naroon, between him and Lanier at the end is like, well, I thought the plan was X. Like, there's nothing in between those moments to give us any indicator that Naroon is acting as a double, triple, fudge ripple agent. It's just there, and then he betrays the religious caste, and then now he comes in and renounces his warrior caste. There's no arc. There's no in betweens in those pages, and I found it really kind of jarring. Not really. It was not a smooth progression from one to the other to the other.
Yeah. Well, let me ask it like this. So do you think that the problem lies with the betrayal part at all? Did it make any sense to have this whole, oh no, Naroon is betraying Delenn thing to have nothing that really comes of it?
No, Naroon betraying Delenn made total sense.
Really? Okay.
It absolutely did at that point, because he's still warrior caste. He's still in charge. And there's still the thing. I could buy that part because there's a scene that leads into that, because he has his conversations with Delenn, then he goes back to warrior caste, and they're like, do you think she bought it? And so there's an earned quality to that betrayal, because now you have the reveal that Naroon is setting her up, as opposed to the rest of it. Naroon comes back and we're playing this whole thing out like it's completely straightforward that he set Delenn up and betrayed her, and now we've got a civil war, and we're going to take over, we're going to win. And then he does this other heel turn at the end, and we have that little nugget of dialogue. Well, that wasn't part of the plan. There's no hint between those moments that there ever was any kind of a plan.
Okay, I see what you're saying. I think that Naroon's been on a number of episodes, and then they in the last episode they came into this whole thing where him and Delenn had some understanding. For me, I think I'm not saying it's not possible for Naroon to have been an agent for that, but it seems like there was an arc, of Naroon being really against Delenn, and then she broke the council and everything. He got on the council, she broke the council, and his views of her and his challenging, her for the Rangers and all this stuff, and then they come to a point of understanding. That's an arc to me that was credible.
Sure.
And that's not to say that him betraying her couldn't have been that. But I think if you pluck out the portion of him betraying her, it makes a smoother arc from start to finish. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think I don't want to say there's a scene missing, because that's my usual refrain when all of this as a writer. It feels like there's a scene missing. There's an in-between moment that we don't see that would help with that whole this to this to this, A to B to C. We're missing B.
Yeah.
I think if you go back to look at every episode that Naroon has been on, and you see that he is an honorable warrior when it comes down to it. Like when he fought Marcus, Marcus took the beating and a half on there, and he went, and Marcus made that joke and made Naroon laugh at that point. I think with the whole situation, you have to look into the overall arc of the Minbari, is that Shakir, who's the leader of the warrior caste, had set things in motion. We know that Minbari do not kill Minbari, but yet Shakir took a whole city and had them march across some sort of the ice section of the planet,
right.
And a lot of them died in that situation. But yet, they said, "Well, no, we didn't kill them. They marched up on there. They could have survived, to that point." And I put to the premise that Naroon had seen this, and that basically Shakir was being dishonorable.
Right.
And basically, of course, that led to him making a plan with Delenn off to the side which you didn't see. And of course, I think that was kept to that point. And then when Naroon left the ship, and you're like, oh man, Naroon is, being that hard-headed Naroon that he's always is, proud warrior on there. And then you find out, when they're at the Star Wheel, he says, "Oh no, our plan was, that she was going to go in and she was going to jump out and everything would be okay."
Well,
to that point.
And on that point, when Delenn hands that document, whatever container thing, over to Lanier and said, "These are your instructions for what happens after," Lanier's like, "What are you talking about?" So there's an indicator there that Lanier doesn't know anything about any kind of a plan. And yet,
I think it was.
This is not what we planned. If Lanier is supposed to know what's supposed to happen.
I think Delenn and Naroon kept it to themselves completely.
Let me tell you, I completely understood what was going on. I even said last week what Naroon said to Shakiri did not make any sense when he was in this little ship and he made that transmission. It did not correlate with the conversations that we saw between Naroon and Delenn. They never talked about a plan. They never said anything about plans.
Right.
They never discussed plans for, how the religious caste was gonna usurp control. That was the plan that Delenn and Naroon came up with, because you remember the religious caste has to they think like warriors and have to believe that they're going to be under attack or kill or be killed, basically. So they have to put things into that type of position, and we see that Shakiri is kind of a mad with power, willing to throw people into he's willing to sacrifice people of his own caste as well as the other castes with wanton disregard. He at the end of the last episode when he made that transmission, I'm like, he's baiting Shakiri. And that was the bait. He arranged the place where they met. He made all those arrangements for the place where they went to that had the Starfire, and with rational justification. I think they came up. I totally bought it. I thought, yes, I said that was actually an excellent plot that they was written and weaved in between the two episoeds.
I remember what he said.
I'm not questioning the plot. I'm not questioning the arc in and of itself. What I'm saying is that there's a piece missing from that arc that makes the logic flow better for me. I guess you
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it worked for me. I knew at the
You're
end of it,
smarter
and then
than
when
the
I,
average bear, aren't you?
well, maybe, I don't know. Hey, boo boo. Hey,
Well,
boo
no.
boo.
Also, the thing
Mr.
that
Picnic
kind of
Basket.
almost gives it away is when he says, "Hey, listen, I put like what Jeff said. We're going here to this particular arena to the point." And
Right.
and he says, "Well, why'd you do it?" He says, "No, it's a perfect place for it. It's large enough."
All the
And
Minbar will see it. It will be,
all
there's a
everybody around the world of
record of it.
Minbar will see what is happening to the point of them surrendering. And that's how you said,
That
"Well,
is a
wait
point.
a minute."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was an ingenious plan that the two of them cooked up, to be honest. And I think they cooked it up in the last episode. So, and got to remember that the Warriors have already been, it's not like Shakiri just started this civil war. This civil war has been festering and going on for some time.
Yeah.
And that's why Delenn had to go back. I remember that's why she left to begin with. She had to go back and
Right.
and settle the matter. So, people were already dying indirectly at the hands of Shakiri. So
See, I have to also remember to the point most people don't realize too. The original storyline to this, the Sinclair, which is called the Sinclair arc, the Warrior cast does take over Minbar into this point. So originally, JMS had this to the point where the Warrior cast was going to be coming after Babylon 5 directly after they take over Minbar. So in a way, he's taken it to a different level here. But but the original story was, this was supposed to happen. This was supposed to happen.
Let me ask you guys a couple broad or large scope questions. What do you think? And I'll go to Snob first, since he hasn't said anything on this. What do you think about the Warrior Cast leader? He just kind of pops in here. He wasn't on the Great Council that we know of, and yet Naroon is an underling to him. Which it might be a governor, federal kind of thing, about that. But and then about the motivation of the Warriors openly attacking, not just Originals Cast, but the whole city. Does that have credibility to you? Because I don't. It doesn't make it never made sense to me, really. Why? It's just like, well, let's just attack. It's like, well, why? What were they trying to accomplish? This claim that the religious caste is taking over and everything, but did Minbar itself really see that? Outside of what Delenn was doing, which was really off Minbar. Snob, what do you think?
It makes the Warriors seem a little bit petty, and that they're simply going for power. And I think that's what they're trying to portray with Shakiri, is that he's, not power mad, but he is not motivated by what's best for his people, which is what Delenn says in their speech. And just the comments that he makes in that first speech with Naroon there. Doesn't people die all the time? People die all the time. Who cares? So I think that's what they're trying to portray. So, it's not very detailed in what the whole deal is, but the fact that there's not much there kind of makes me jump to the conclusions that it's not a good reason, and that Shakir is, it's kind of a really much a power play between the religious and the warrior caste. And they have these various, grievances, which Kiri mentions in his speech, the fact that they started the war and we all died, the war with the humans, we all died. And then they stopped the war right as we were about to win it. And we still don't know really, we still don't really know why. So he does kind of mention those things. So, I kind of made the assumption that, hey, that's what's going on, but I don't know that it's strongly given to us.
It's always been through since the beginning of the first season on there. We know with the Minbari and the Earth War with the Minbari, that basically that there has been sort of a rift with the warrior cast as far as, like Snob said, that they stopped the war into the situation. And, and we know that there was the episode when Sheridan shows up, and about the story about the Tripoli and the Minbari Kalain that shows up on there, and he kills himself. So basically, the Minbari ship would die an honorable death to that point, on there, because they basically their original leader at the end of the war committed suicide, and then they went into exile.
Right.
And we've seen factions episode 1, the movie, we always seen something with the Minbar that some in the warrior cast has disapproved to the whole situation, not only on their world, Babylon 5, and everything around them. There's always been some sort of disagreement that they've always had. And when they brought in Naroon, and it's sort of expanded out a little bit more, but you always saw something was going on with the warrior cast.
Yeah, I think it was portrayed as Shakiri is kind of mad with power. He is part of that, that whole we were warriors and I'm pissed off, and he's trying to, and he's rallied all the other in the warrior cast that's pissed off about them stopping, about the religious cast being the ones, they started it and then they turned around and stopped it when we were getting ready to win.
Yeah, and he did mention that, it's like, a lot of us died,
right.
I think it was him that mentioned it.
There's a line back from a couple episodes ago, concerning it. They said, well, the Great Council never tells the whole truth.
Right.
But, that's bearing in mind, there are warriors on the Great Council too. It seems like, now maybe they were dominated by the religious caste, but
no, it was equal. It was equal.
No, I'm saying I'm
they
not
were
saying
divided
literally. I'm saying,
well, you can dominate. You can dominate an equal share with personality alone.
Yeah, I didn't mean they had an uneven split of representatives. I mean the mindset was dominated by the religious caste.
Well, Delenn was the deciding factor to start the war. Remember they came to her and said, you need to decide, because her mentor had died, and he was basically the one that would have occupied that center spot and broken any imbalance or whatever. Yeah. And she was on the Great Council at that point, and you got to decide. You're the tiebreaker, because there was they lost a couple of them, right? So it was up. There was now only 7 remaining, and she was number 7. And she had to break that tie and make a decision, because they were split.
But she was also the replacement for Ducat too. She was.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Ducat too.
She was handpicked to be on the Great Council, but Ducat, when Ducat died, now there was the 9 of them, and it wasn't just Ducat that died, which would have been the 10th. He would have been like a 10th, right? But he just organized the things. The Great Council can always overrule whatever Ducat did, and did many times. They overruled him, and that was kind of part of the problem to begin with, is we didn't study the humans. He wanted to study the humans, because it would have, they wouldn't have gone in there with their guns, open or whatever. That's their tradition.
Yeah. So Jeff, do you think that what the Warriors were doing here was worked for the storyline? Was it credible to you that this was the approach they were taking?
Yeah, they were trying to seize control.
Okay,
absolutely. Yeah.
And Jason, what do you think about that? The 2 big questions: the leader guy, whether he worked in the story,
like
and if this was a credible.
Well, Shakiri comes off. He's not a cookie cutter dictator wannabe, although he's close.
Yes.
He's very tropey. And it does kind of go back to what Jeff was saying earlier about when Naroon is saying, "Oh, well, we're going to go to this place and we're going to do it this way," and then the relationship that Naroon and Shakiri has, that betrayal between the 2 of them is partially you can sell it because Shakiri is going too far. Because
he even questions them, right?
Yeah, Naroon's even asking those questions, like, "Hey, wait a minute, what about X? What about Z? What about green?
Right.
What about blue 32? And Shikiri's like, oh, you know, we're warriors. Doesn't matter. And you have that. And this is typical in that kind of a story trope where you have the bad guy and the bad guy's mentor who's now starting to think, well, maybe we don't need to be the bad guys, and maybe I want to be a good guy. And it's I am embarrassed to say that I didn't really see it coming, but but Shikiri does kind of set himself up for what happens there at the end when Naroon does what he does and shames him and says, well, wait a minute, I thought death was just this thing and not to be feared, and it's just one more, it's this
Binary.
Yeah, well, Naroon called him out very effectively at
Yeah.
that point,
and
publicly as well.
and so he steps in there and proves that ultimately he's a bully and a coward.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, what did you guys think? I mean,
sorry,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, Cam, real quick. We got 14 watching. Welcome, Old Master Mage. I don't know that I've seen you before. Welcome. And hey, listen, everyone, whether you're on Rumble or on YouTube, put in, if you have any questions, points to make, put them in the chat. We'll highlight them. We really encourage people in the chat to be part of the conversation. We appreciate that. All right,
We love
thanks.
interactivity.
Go ahead, Cam.
What did you? I mean, I think the idea was as the aperture was opening and this light was coming down, which was obviously killing them or whatever. It was supposed to be getting more intense.
Yes.
but Delenn was standing in there for, I don't know, 5-6 times longer. Shikiri like steps in there for like 5 seconds and he's like, I gotta get out of here.
Couldn't stand the pain.
Right.
Well, I think it was a kind of almost a holy light, so to speak.
It was
it might have been
almost like a
will
heat
thing.
beam, because if you see later on in the
She's got a
episode,
tan. She's got a tan.
she's got a bit of a tan.
Yeah.
I
Orange
think that
Delenn,
demonstrates.
Orange Delenn, good.
I assume that demonstrates her commitment, right? She's much more committed than he is. He's weaker mentally. She is so strong, in her convictions and her mental.
Okay,
he's not.
But she was trying to make a point to that to that situation.
She was willing to sacrifice herself.
I agree with what Snob just said, that it's like this is a test of will, right? Not necessarily a test of damage. But just 1 second. But if that's the case, then they shouldn't have shown physical damage like the burns she had. It's like, do you see what I'm saying? It's like, are we supposed to expect Delenn, who is now human, which is less hardy, part human, that is less hardy than Minbari, was able to resist that physical damage more for much longer? That I don't know. That just didn't work for me.
Well,
I don't know if it can be.
We do see her not just with the tan, but she's staggering against the wall before she goes in there and reconstitutes the Grey Council. And Lanier is like,
it's out at one point.
You shouldn't do this. You need to be resting. This is we can wait for this. And she's like, no. I got to do it now. So there's stuff in the dialogue that also says that there was a physical toll from standing in there. But I do think too, she was probably in there a little bit too long without seeing any of the effects. We didn't see very much strain from her. And then when Shikiri got in there and reacted the way he did, that actually kind of undermined Mira Furlan's performance a little bit more, because she's just standing there. She doesn't look like she's struggling at all. She doesn't look like she's having any kind of reaction to whatever this beam of light is.
That's a good point. It might have been more powerful if she was going on, but it was clearly taking a toll on her. You know what I'm saying? And because she just was like, she's kind of standing there.
And maybe there's a scientific explanation, and maybe there's a metaphysical explanation.
Well, she got used to it. She got warmed up.
Right. I mean, she was in it. She was in it for the longest time. I mean, and it goes to the thing where she even said, are the warrior casts stronger? Yes. Wiser?
Right.
And she goes into this whole soliloquy.
Well, and the other thing too, and this is just an off the cuff thought, because I've been looking at, I got this new book on the making of Star Trek 4, and there was a mention on all of the stuff that Spock had to relearn, right?
Mhm.
And you look at the Vulcans and their mental disciplines and all of these different things that they do. There is no pain. They control pain, they control emotions and whatnot. And the thought occurs to me that the religious caste, and I think we'd have to go back and look to see if any dialogue has ever established this. Does the religious caste have some kind of mental discipline, meditative practice that would help her resist being in that beam of light and the pain that comes with it? Because if that's the case, then you can say, oh, well, she's meditated her way to put up with this by blocking out the pain. She's experiencing it, but she's not letting herself acknowledge it, very much the way a Vulcan would in times of crisis where there's stuff that I got to get done. I can't acknowledge the pain right now. That'll come later.
It'll be like the people that walk on coals, or the people that
Yeah.
that can lay on bed. Well, I mean, we know that there's some scientific, but the way I looked at it, coming from a tabletop gamer type perspective, I thought this was like holy light. This is divine light, and in that regards, now, yeah, sure, there's probably some scientific explanation in the universe for how it works, because obviously we've seen that with the Vorlons and the Shadows, stuff that we don't understand, that's beyond our comprehension. But a holy light will even destroy somebody that's good eventually.
Well, remember, what is the name of the device? It's the Starfire wheel.
Yeah.
So she had burns on her, so it has to be some sort of massive heat source.
Right.
That kept increasing as long as they've been in there.
Like I said, holy fire. That's basically what this was.
Because it started very small, and then it started to expand.
So Shakiri is a vampire, basically.
No,
let me ask you guys about
the Daywalker.
Naroon jumps in, right, and obviously pushes Delenn out and makes his speech and everything. Do you think that? How do you think this would have impacted? Maybe this is really a quarterbacking thing, but I want to hear what everyone has to say. If he was betraying her, and then he made his turn because he saw in with his own eyes what she was doing and enduring and the stance she was taking, would that have had more impact for you? Snop.
Sorry. Hello. Yeah. Sorry. Say that one more time. The question.
Oh, okay. I'm asking if Naroon, he jumped in there and saved Delenn, saying, "Oh, I'm religious and everything." But would it have made more of an impact if Naroon had been a traitor? That he had gone on with this and he wasn't in on the plan, and he saw, it's like in front of his face, he sees this massive display of bravery and wisdom coming from Delenn, and had his heart changed there, and then saved her because of that. Would that have had better impact in this story?
Maybe, but the only problem with that is that we've seen, like, to me, it seems that Naroon has been, since the whole issue with the Rangers, he has been, the respect for Delenn has been growing, and that's been set. That's kind of been already set, and the fact that Delenn goes and approaches Naroon and not anyone else, because she knows that. So I think you have a point, but I don't know that. I think it might be, less believable, because we've seen Naroon his respect grow for Delenn.
I agree. And so really what I'm trying to do is justify the supposed turn, the whole betrayer thing, which, again, to me, it's just like, why is that there? This is, it interrupted the arc, in my opinion. And his reaction was as if he had betrayed her almost. You see what I'm saying? It's like, that's why I'm asking the question, is I'm trying to resolve these things that don't really seem to make sense. Jason, I'm sorry. What do you think about that?
No, I think you're right. I think, I don't, I think you could argue it both ways. You have this, the betrayal of the religious caste, the betrayal of Delenn by Naroon, you're right. It does kind of, make things kind of turn a corner. And now you're wondering what his motivations are. The other thing that you could look at possibly was he's setting himself up to be the leader. He's going to take out both Delenn and Shakiri, and he's going to do it in a way that kills them both and leaves him standing. There's nothing in there that would lead to that, except for that one thing where it's like, okay, well, what is he doing? He's manipulating circumstances. And then when he gets back and he's having these conversations with Shakiri and like we've talked about, looks like he's setting Shakiri up. You could very well have that scene go a different way, where he's planning for the both of them to die. It leaves him in charge, and then he sees what kind of commitment Delenn has to this, and it's like, okay, maybe he doesn't necessarily renounce the warrior caste and become religious caste, and she's going to do it, but he at least, that's a point where he respects her enough that we're looking at each other as equals at that point, and Shakiri has to die to get out of the way. So yeah, I don't know that the impact on his speech would be any more. I think you could do a different kind of motivation for it, depending on how those scenes are all played together.
Okay. Madman, what do you think?
Well, like I said, Naroon's one of my favorites. Honorable Minbari warrior. He always, as much as, because in the beginning, a lot of people did not like this guy. When this first ran, they're like, oh, what's wrong with this guy? He's always like this meanness and all that. But I got to put a line from the episode itself, and let me read this off on there. Naroon, is it wrong to value life? I thought that's what we fought. Shakira, we fight because it's our nature, it's the calling of our heart. Life and death are simply two possible consequences, both equal, neither value nor feared above the other. For the warrior, death is simply the release from our obligation. Now, you take that point, and when Delenn does not come out of the Starfire wheel, he sees this, that she's going to make this sacrifice, and he doesn't want her to die. Because he's asked, is it wrong to value life? And he goes and he grabs her, takes her out of there, stays in the fire wheel, and then he has the epiphany and says, I was born a warrior, Cass, but my heart is religious. That is the point, that he had that epiphany, that he says, like, everything that I've talked about and everything, my, the honor and everything like that, I've been part of the religious caste, not warrior. To that point, and that boosts the strength of his character to the point where you're saying, like, he's always been honorable from the very beginning. He's always been on the side of his people, no matter if he disagreed with the humans, no matter if he disagreed with the situations on there. He's always been on the side of honor, whether he was warrior or religious. And you saw what happened at the end, that they left the spot for him in the center of the Great Council
until the one.
Yeah,
the one that will be.
The one that will be.
Yeah. Well, isn't that Sheridan? They're mixing.
Well, that's what I kept thinking. It was like.
Go ahead, Jeff. Whatever thoughts you have on.
I was going to say I don't think it would have had more of an impact. In fact, it probably would have been a little more confusing. Had that happen like that, because of the arc, like was explained, the arc that Naroon had, with him being at odds with Delenn and trying to challenge her for the for control of the Rangers, and then him coming to a human standing up, going up against a Minbari warrior, was almost futile, right, in hand-to-hand combat. And yet he was still willing to do that. If somebody was willing, if a non-Minbari was willing to do that for her, what would the others do? And that's when he started gaining respect. He may not have, I think he kind of at that point went neutral on Delenn, and he yielded to her as having that authority over the Rangers and whatnot. But I think when she called him and said, "Look, we have not always agreed. In fact, we've often disagreed. But one thing I've never doubted was that your motivation was for what was best for the Minbari people. You may have done the wrong things, but you did them for what you thought was the right reason, and she never doubted. And that's why she called him instead of, because we've obviously seen Nerun, but there were a lot of other Minbari she could have called upon, I'm sure, that would have been of equal status as Nerun. What I think was the turning point was when Nerun saw what Delenn was doing, and she's like, why is she still in there? She's won. He's showing himself to be the coward and the fool that he is. And she should, and he at that point, I think, had his epiphany and said, she's the wise one, and that's what we need, and we need to listen to what she says.
Yeah, remember his last words. The war is over. Listen to her.
Yep.
Listen.
Yeah.
What would the series be like, do you think, if Delenn had died at this point?
Sheridan would be a raging terror, but well, we already know what's going to happen there. So, now I don't know if she would. I mean, she certainly was willing to.
Right.
But I think Nerun saw the value of her in that and was willing to sacrifice himself to save her.
Right. No, I'm saying, but what I'm asking is a hypothetical. What if that part of the storyline for Nerun wasn't there, and Nerun's Darth Vader to what's his name's Palpatine? We're just going to go ahead and just let her go, and she stands in there and vaporizes. What does that do to the religious caste? What does that do to the balance of power? Does that put her now does that make her a martyr? And does the religious caste decide, well, you know what? There's a time for peace and a time for war. And then where do you go from there?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that if she had done that, I think, and the warriors, at least half of them would have been like, look at this guy. He wasn't willing to do anything, and yet this religious, we're the stronger ones, and yet she was willing to sacrifice herself.
Right.
I think the Minbari people at large would have greatly. It probably would have been at least 2/3, if not more.
See, and that's the other thing that's missing from all of this, right? And even and Delenn points that out when she's reassembling the
Grey Council.
The Grey Council is all of this civil war back and forth, all these different episodes. It's all been warrior caste, religious caste. If the worker caste had risen up at any point, that would have put a completely different complexion on this whole thing.
Well, let's move on to that point, because I think it's a really interesting development in the show overall. Right. But I will note, Jason, that I think that the workers were heavily involved in making the White Star fleet.
Yeah, so they were. They built the cities and maintained the cities and they built the ships that the warriors used, and the cities and the temples that the religious. I mean, she even said so.
Sure, but what
they
I'm saying
also they said that they don't look for power for themselves.
Right. They don't seek power.
They're kind of humble.
Right.
But what I'm saying is Delen's whole White Star thing was like a side mission, right? It was outside of the normal order of things, and the worker caste was involved in that as well. So it was kind of like the Warriors were the outliers at that point.
Okay.
Well, they did
Not a huge
yeah.
point. I mean, it was for a very specific thing, but
Yeah.
and it wasn't like they were saying something politically. It was just like, oh, sure, well, we're going to do the work. But okay, so we're to this point now where Delenn reconstitutes Great Council. I remember really liking this when I saw it originally, because they don't really. I don't remember them saying specifically that the worker caste is the biggest. Maybe they did, but it would make sense, right? That the elite warriors and the elite religious types are minority groups compared to the mass of people that just do the everyday work and living, farming, everything of a society.
Right.
So I thought this was really kind of cool. It's like, yeah, the people are in charge now, or have a bigger share of the power. And like Delenn said,
it's always
here
been
to
a
advise
balance.
them.
And
It's always like
previously,
the religious and the warrior caste when they're, she says, when they're both in conflict, the worker class they
Suffers.
basically suffer the most.
They're kind of
they pay the price. They pay the price.
They pay the price.
Well, right. It's how many worker caste lived in the city that the warrior caste was killing, as well. They talked about the religious caste, but I'm sure workers lived there too, right?
The forgotten man, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I like about it. It's like in this story, kind of, they didn't really go into it in depth, but it's like they're the common man, that's how it came across to me. What do you guys think? Jeff, what do you think?
No, absolutely. I think her, for 1,000 years it was always three of each, and then they decided to throw Nerun in there and upset the balance, right? So that there was 4 warriors or whatever,
right?
Outnumbering them, and that's when that's when she broke the council and she said, "This is we're done." For now. And obviously it had worked, but it always been and I think it was the previous episode or one of the previous episodes where she had talked about, about how there's always been, since the time of Aelin, they've always had this delicate balance, but it's always been back and forth. The religious and the warriors were always at some sort of odds with one another, and again, she reiterated it in this episode that's why she put, that's why she made the decision to have 2 from the religious, 2 from the warrior, and 4 from the worker. Was 2 because finally, because they are the most dutiful ones, and they're the ones that suffer the most. So any decision really, it's like putting power to the people, is what it basically is.
Yeah, Madman, what do you think?
It's this is how, to that point, with the worker class, it's they've always kept them. I mean, put it this way: when you saw them with the Minbari when they're on the White Star, what did you see mostly? Did you see anybody from the warrior caste? No, you didn't see anybody from the worker class either. You saw mostly the religious caste aboard those White Star ships,
right?
On there, always to that point. And you're like saying, it's like that joke that, Deadpool is, they couldn't afford any other X-Men in this episode, in this movie, and you see to the point that now Delenn has put forward the point as what Zathras had put a minute ago, that she's the middle of the story. Her story is now, and she's putting to that point that now we're going to rebuild Minbar to the way it should be.
I don't know. It wasn't Zathras that said that. It was Zathras.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry.
Not
Zathras.
Zathras.
Yeah.
Zathras, not Zathras.
Zathras.
Yeah.
Jason, what do you think about this reformed Great Council? Was it striking?
Well, it makes a certain amount of sense, and she sits there and says, the the fact of the matter is that we've basically been at the head table arguing over the division of spoils, and here you have a completely other group of people that are affected by everything that we decide, and they should have a say. And it's interesting, that argument, because it's almost like representative republic type politics, right? Where it's like, if we're going to have a governing body that represents the various different castes of people, then perhaps you should do something with regard to percentages, and you know the Gray Council now suddenly becomes the House of Representatives. So I'm like, I
the
can
four
get on board with
do.
that.
I think the four worker cast is supposed to represent like the House of Representatives, whereas
Right.
you've
Yeah.
got your military, maybe the executive branch, and then the religious caste is, I don't know. what
Right.
they
The,
would
the
be.
judges, the judiciary.
Judicial, yeah.
I mean, it's obviously not a perfect example, but
No, right.
I also had that feeling that it's like it felt like the House of Representatives, with the 5 workers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 5 or 4? I thought it was
5. No,
I
5.
think
'Cause
that's
it's
5.
5, 2, and 2.
Yeah, 5.
2. Yeah, yeah, because there's 9.
Snop, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It seems strange that I think this is Lynn's plan from the beginning, is that the workers, or sorry, the religious and the warrior caste have failed in that they didn't have this war. That's a monument to their failure. They're not able to work things out. They have kind of lost the wisdom, and she wants to, she hatches this plan because she wants to win this little battle with Shikiri so that she can set up the future leadership, which is the workers taking a bigger stand, which we think that since the beginning they've never taken this big a stand, right? Because it's always been 3 and 3 and 3 since Valen set it up. And it makes sense because we would assume that most of the people would be in the worker caste. Maybe the warriors and the religious have some maintenance workers with them and that kind of thing, janitors and stuff, but maybe not. Maybe the workers do that. They probably make up somewhere like 95% of the population is the people who do everything other than pray and fight. I would assume. So I think it's a good resolution, and it kind of makes sense and probably fits with JMS's sensibilities.
Okay. All right. We could come back to any comments on this on final thoughts, but why don't we move over to the other storylines here? Starting at the beginning with Edgar's and Garibaldi, and he wants him to expedite his packages. And then, of course, we have Lita, failing as Snob covered, with her attempt to be a on the sly telepath. And we see the one thing I want to ask everybody about, and you can feel free to talk about any of these things. Of course, Bester shows up too, but is Garibaldi. We now have, I think, 3 episodes where, in my opinion, Garibaldi is being clearly a bad guy. He especially, which is shown in his interactions with Zach. He's gaslighting Zach all the time here. He's trying to turn it around. It's like Zach is only asking for the same thing that Garibaldi would have demanded of someone else were he in his position, and he's giving crap to Zach and putting this like, oh, I thought we were friends kind of BS on him, and this is making me hate Garibaldi. So I guess I'm asking about Garibaldi. You could talk about other things, but Jeff, let's start with you.
Favorite. It's still my favorite. I think it became clear throughout this episode. We know he's been manipulated, and now I have an idea of who's behind it. Or it's one of 2 people, anyways. We could talk about that. But yes, Mr. Edgars, or whatever his name is constantly calling him, and he's like, "Don't you realize there's a 7-hour time difference between?"
Can I bring something up on that? Okay, hang on 1 second on that. That's a bit of a goof because technically,
Isn't there like
Babylon 5
23
is on Earth time, correct?
Right.
So if they're going by Earth time and Mars time, okay, a Mars day is about 40 minutes longer than an Earth day.
Right.
So if they're running on that, how is it a 7-hour day? 7-hour difference.
Not only that, and they're going by Earth time. I'm presumably what is Zulu time or UTC would be Earth time,
Right.
and it's not the same time everywhere on the Earth. I can't imagine them doing that. I would think that the same would extend to Mars. There would be time zones on Mars as well.
Yeah, but they probably would go with Syria Planatia as their main center for the time zone.
Okay, maybe right, but that would be, and maybe that's where the main Mars colony is or whatever.
Yes.
But I would presume there's Martian colonies all over the planet.
No. Yeah, no. Obviously, they're different time zone, but still,
that's probably the biggest. The major
there is a
capital.
change. On Mars it does change constantly, but it is 40 minutes. It is 40 minutes long. Difference than Earth.
Sure, and I was
kind of a bit of a goof when he says.
Well, even more than that, he's talking to Edgar's, and Edgar's like, all right, I got a package coming to Babylon 5. I want you to make sure it clears customs, so it can be delivered to Io. And I thought, hang on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why would he go through Babylon 5?
We're going to go all the way out to Babylon 5 in order to come back to Saturn. Why? Why is this going all the way out to Babylon 5 in order to go right back to the solar system where it came from?
Did it originate there?
It's going back to Io.
Well, is that going back to Io? Well, okay. I mean, depending on where it's coming from, I guess. Okay, you could.
It's probably found somewhere else out in the galaxy.
I guess. If so, that I missed it. They didn't. I guess they didn't say where it originated. But for some reason, I was thinking, why is it going from Mars to Babylon 5 and back to Io?
I might have missed something too, but I thought the same thing, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was specified.
I think Jason brings up an interesting question, but I'm pretty sure the chat wants us to go back to talking about time zones. That's sarcasm, by the way.
Okay, let's go to. Well, Jason, go ahead.
Well, no, I do think Edgar's said it was coming from somewhere in the Earth system. So I don't know. Regardless, when I heard Babylon 5 to Io, immediately I thought, why is it going to Babylon 5?
Are we sure it's coming from Earth?
No,
like maybe it comes from one of the other colonies.
It could be,
or somewhere else.
I don't remember.
Some alien. I think.
He's talking about weird compounds, so it could be from some foreign, faraway planet or something.
Some lab somewhere in China.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the only thing I'm going to say about the whole Garibaldi thing. I'm tired of Garibaldi. The stuff that's happening with Bester. And manipulating him and manipulating what's going on with what's her name, Lita, and all of that should have happened 4 or 5, 6 episodes ago. This plot, whatever it is that they're doing with Garibaldi, has moved slower than draining the swamp at this point. I am so sick of this thing not going anywhere. It is an interminable plot that is taking forever to develop, and it's this incrementalism is driving me nuts. Every time I see anything happening with Garibaldi, it's more of the same. Get off of this and do something with this character. Because nothing has happened in the last 4 or 5. Well, since the beginning of the season, nothing has nothing has happened to get us any closer to a reveal on what actually happened to him. 2, nothing has gotten anywhere close to telling us who did it. Although now with Bester showing up, maybe Bester's involved. Maybe Mr. Edgar's is also Mr. Bester. Who knows?
No,
No, it's probably not. But
I guess you
but
guys didn't pay attention to Bester's ending
I did.
and
I
what
did.
he said. Do you remember what he said?
He is trying. I think there's a whole nother.
No, I'm saying, what did he say?
Well,
Do
tell
you
us.
remember what he said to
well,
the
he's,
point?
Well,
yeah,
I remember.
he's
While I generally
Garibaldi on
agree
his
with
path.
yeah, I generally agree with Jason's statement. I mean, but I think that this actually does push the plot slightly forward. in
Yeah,
that
but
Esther says that
it only nudges it, and it does it 4 episodes past when it should have. It is so slow, and we're getting repeats. You know, how many times
Yeah,
is
it's very similar.
Garibaldi going to confront Zach? How many times are they're
Or
going to have
Sheridan.
this gaslighting thing?
Yeah.
And Zach's just trying to do his job. It's like, come on, man, you know what the job is. You had the job. I'm just trying to do the job. We've seen that scene more than once.
Yeah, you're right. And the other thing is that I'd put it slightly differently. It's not that I disagree with you, but it's like, what are they building towards here? Well, what is it that you're trying to establish with Garibaldi? You know, if again, they spoiled the whole thing. Yeah, right. And
with all this
spoiled,
setup, it better be
The thing
huge.
is, well, Cam, they've established that his brain has been altered.
right.
They haven't
They
paid
already
off. They haven't paid that off.
Totally agree. They blew it they blew that right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it's like they're not building towards it, right? Because if you were building towards that as a reveal, then it'd be like, oh, okay, this goes somewhere. But the reveal has already happened.
Well,
in
and
terms of that.
Zach asking Lita to scan him, that should have happened, second or third episode. Because Zach immediately notices that there's something going on with Garibaldi.
Yeah, as soon as he came back.
There's something off. He should have gone. Well, Sheridan does too, but Zach being the guy that's worked with him all the time, he'd be the one to sit there and go, hey, wait a minute, hang on. Sheridan's got the whole war to fight, right? Zach looks at this and goes, Garrett, something's off with Garibaldi. Hey, Lita, we've established in these scenes that they've got a friendship now. He's kind of taken her under his wing. Hey, can you go scan the boss for me? That should have happened third or fourth episode of the season.
I agree with you, Jason, with one exception, is that Lita was involved in the Shadow War stuff pretty deeply. But as soon as that ended, it'd be like, hey, by the way, there's something wrong here,
But if you do it right, Zach could ask Lita to do this in the middle of all of this, and she's like, Zach, if it were anybody else, I might think about it, but it's Garibaldi, and I'm in the middle of fighting this war thing, and now she's concerned with Garibaldi, and that affects her ability to do what she's got to do, and makes the war fighting effort harder. You could have put that in where it's a plot point now where she's worried. She's got in the back of her head, something's wrong with Garibaldi, and I'm not doing anything about it because I'm fighting this thing. And it distracts her at a very key point, and people die.
Also,
I guess
Zach,
I'm gonna have to put the line in. If
Zach could easily,
go ahead.
Zach could easily, put more pressure on Lita and say, look, we're both good friends of Garibaldi. Something's wrong. He is not acting like himself. We need to find out what's going on. I think when he was away, somebody messed with his mind. Help me save him. That could have been a fairly strong,
She should have used that. Yeah, she should have tried to. He should have tried to use. Look, he's my buddy too, and I am worried because he's not acting like himself, and I think somebody messed with him, and unfortunately, his whole dislike of telepaths to begin with, is. But I think
Well, the other thing too is, why hasn't he talked to Franklin? Why haven't we seen that conversation? It's like, hey, Doc, I know you cleared him, but something seems off. He just doesn't seem right in the head. Doc Franklin could sit there and say, well, maybe we need to do a scan, and for medical reasons. I mean, there's all sorts of different ways that you can contrive to do that, but that it still goes back to, it should have already happened by now.
Okay, let me
Well
put into this
before
perspective. The scene where Garibaldi's sitting there with Lita
Yeah,
and Bester comes by.
at the
What
end.
do you remember? What happens?
Yeah, he's manipulating. He does a scan just because,
Right. Okay.
that's
Hold
what
that
leads
thought.
me to
But he
one of
does the
his
Right.
things.
scan behind Lita across her
Right.
so she can
and
detect it. He makes
Right.
sure that she knows he did it.
He's
Right.
pushing his buttons though,
he's
right?
pushing his buttons. Now,
Yeah.
if you, because you guys didn't remember it, the
I do remember.
monologue at the end of the episode where Bester's doing his, captain's
Mhm.
log type
Esther
situation.
Al.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stardate.
It's Al. Yeah, exactly. The thing he says is, "I've pushed Garibaldi in the right direction."
Right.
He's
Well, I mean, but see, the thing about it is, though, that's not very much of a reveal because we know Psychor has been involved at some level in all
Right.
of this from the very beginning.
Right.
well. So there's two. I have two prevailing theories, and
Mhm.
about who's behind it, and it could go either way. Either Bester had that that mind manipulation thing, had him programmed in there to send him on this mission to go investigate Edgar's, because Edgar's, I think, has some nefarious plans. I don't think I don't think he's a friend of the telepaths. I think he's a rich man and he's trying to control, and so I think him and Bester are basically adversaries in a way.
Well, Edgar makes it clear that he doesn't trust telepaths. Doesn't want
Right,
him.
right.
He doesn't want
We
him on
hear
the
that
payroll.
in this episode, and this serum I don't think is to this serum he's developing, I don't think it's to help telepaths. I think it might be to
Shut him down.
shut him down or destroy him or something. Yeah, I think he's working on a virus or something like that, that'll but that's neither here nor there. So the question is, was the programming done either by Edgar's to get him to recruit to actually recruit it, or was it done by Bester? And this is probably the most likely thing. Bester did this because he knows Garibaldi is the best at what he does,
Okay.
and he
The problem
needed him to
the problem
plant
I
him
have with that
into Edgar's.
the problem I have with that is if Edgar's is doing this and knows that he needs Garibaldi for whatever reason, what purpose does it serve to manipulate Garibaldi's mind so that he is at odds with Sheridan and the command crew? Why not just, hey, Edgar's, the richest guy in the galaxy. Hey, Garibaldi, got an offer you can't refuse. I'm gonna give you
Right.
all this money. I want you to go independent and start working for me. I mean, you don't have to have the mental manipulation stuff that
Right.
turns his personality on that front.
Right.
Why
But
would
on the
he,
on the
why,
on the
why
other
would he trust Bester?
right on the other
He's always
side
been
of
at
it,
odds with Bester.
Right.
on
But
the
either way, I mean, the idea, whatever plot you're contriving there between either of those guys, what purpose does it serve to turn Garibaldi against Sheridan and the command crew at the station? That's
Bester
that's the linchpin of this whole plot
right.
that has never been addressed since the very beginning of the season.
Bester needs somebody who's not a telepath, but has that instinctive, detective, hard-nosed thing. But he needs him to think he's doing it, and to push him away from That was the only way to get him out of Babylon 5, and to be looking for something else. He's doing this detective work. I'm sure it was planted. There was news information about that was leaked to Edgar's or whatever. Somehow word got picked up that, hey, Garibaldi is doing detective work. He's left his post, and he's pretty good at the muscle, and good at getting things passed through customs like he was doing.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately Bester's the one who had Garibaldi's mind messed with, to get Garibaldi to leave the command staff, go independent, and then get this offer he couldn't refuse, and ultimately, get embedded as an agent. He's a secret agent and doesn't even know it. He's trying to get Garibaldi embedded in with Edgar's because Besser knows something up. He's got information that about whatever kind of research that Edgar's is doing, and it's not good for Psychor. It's not good for his plan.
What is the name of this episode? Moments in Transition.
Right. So
I'll just, I mean, the three of us don't know what's going to happen. The other
No.
Cam and Madman know.
Right.
And I'll just mention that we know that Bester is basically he's a telepath supremacist. He
Right.
thinks that telepaths should take over. So if it makes sense that if Edgar's is,
he's a threat.
I mean, this is the X-Men from Marvel, right? The normies are fighting back and trying to suppress the telepaths, and the telepaths, of course, want to protect themselves. So it's kind of that. I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah.
But the point being is I think Jason is right. Like, why this does seem convoluted, and we've known since episode 7 or something, maybe 6 before the end of the war, when I might have the episode wrong. When Garibaldi's captured, we're hinted at that it's Psychor because we see the boots, and now but that's all we had. Now we have we seem to have some confirmation from Bester that with this whole setting him on the path, that it is Bester, at least Bester's, whether however many group of in Psychor there are, and there's a suggestion that there's at least 2 different groups of Psychor, and Bester's in one. So, but Bester seems to be behind this. So,
and he's trying to get him to leave Babylon 5 and get him off of there.
But the thing is, when Garibaldi was captured, who did it? It was a shadow ship.
He was captured by
by the shadows, because his Gunstar was in the midst of a shadow ship.
But who was controlling the shadow ship? It
Well,
might have been one of Bester's
the hint
guys.
is you have the shadows, Mr. What's his name, working with a faction of the Psychor, which was not Bester's faction.
Right.
Yes. So who actually, if that's the case, then you again, and like I said, it's very convoluted, very Machiavellian. There are a lot of layers to this thing that don't need to be there.
But Jason, remember
there's a lot of unnecessary wheels within wheels within wheels, and it's just kind of sitting there.
But remember, Garibaldi is found at some point, so we don't know. The shadows might have just ejected him and not bothered with him and done anything.
Or that shadow ship wasn't really run by the shadows.
But why make
someone
the
else picked him
point?
up?
But why make the point in the show? Not necessarily within the story, but there is a shot. So Straczynski clearly wants us to know that Garibaldi was picked up by a shadow ship.
Yeah.
Why drop that in there if it's not intrinsic to whatever it is that he's stringing out in the plot?
I think Bester's group found a way, and it may have been that for one of the shadow ships that was discovered at some point, or they found a shadow ship and managed to figure it out without the shadows knowing, and masked it or something. I think Bester's, his little group, his subsect of Psychor actually had possession of a shadow ship, and they used that to capture Garibaldi.
Oh, it's possible. I said, it's just very
a lot of speculation. We have no idea.
Yeah, right.
We have no idea. But remember this point. Remember this point. This is episode 14.
Right.
There's only 8 episodes left.
Right. And that this should have been playing out well before this.
Yes. Yeah. I agree. I think this storyline, this arc, suffered because of the compression. Just like the whole Earth thing kind of was compressed, and it felt disjointed because things happened. What was going on with Earth while the Shadow War was going on? We should have been back and forth, and there should have been more episodes.
My speculation was,
I don't know if compression is the word. I think it's the opposite of compression.
Yeah, but see,
this was forgotten, and because of that compression, and now it's like, oh yeah, we got to put this back in.
Well,
gotta rush it.
my thing was if you're setting this thing up to where Garibaldi is going to be this sleeper agent of some sort, whatever, right? It makes sense for that plot to play out during the war.
Right.
Because is he Manchurian Candidate type of thing now, where he's now being programmed. Yeah, okay, he's going to be at odds with Sheridan, the command crew. He's going to go on his own. He's going to go rogue. He's going to go independent. Whatever. Are they setting him up as the patsy to take the fall for an assassination attempt on Sheridan during the war? I mean, that's where that plot should have gone.
Well, it could go both ways, though. It could go that, he
right,
could.
But the war is over now, so you can't do anything like that.
Well, remember, Bester wants to take over. He wants to be in charge of Earth.
Yeah.
So that's his. He's a megalomaniac, right? Ultimately, that's his goal. Is him and his people, his elite P12s should be in charge and running the whole show.
So let me ask you this, and I know
kill two birds with one
we're
stone.
getting deep in the weeds here, but let me ask you this: if Bester wants to be in control of Earth and Earth Force and whatever else, what does Babylon 5 have to do with any of it? Because if they've declared independence, we're going to be neutral territory. We're Babylon 5. We're not affiliated with anybody at all. Then it shouldn't make any difference at all to Bester what's going on out of Babylon 5. He can do whatever he wants because he wants to take over Earth. But this is where the disconnect starts to happen. Because you're doing all of this stuff that involves Babylon 5, then there should be clear plot points that connect. This is why Babylon 5 is important to this part of the plot. And we don't have that with Garibaldi yet.
But the crew of Babylon 5 is still loyal to Earth, just not to the people that are currently in charge of it.
Sure.
They're loyal to
that doesn't have anything to do with Bester wanting to take over Earth.
You have to remember also, and this is the thing that hasn't been said pretty much well, but it was back at the very beginning of when Clark completely took over. There are Earth forces that are out there more loyal to Babylon 5 that have been in hiding since then, like the Alexander is still out there. You know, basically that there are ships out there loyal to Babylon 5, ready to strike, and we haven't gotten to that point yet. And they're waiting. They're waiting for the point. And if you think Bester wants to take over Earth, he's still going to have to deal with Babylon 5.
Right. And if he has Garibaldi unwittingly on his side against without Garibaldi realizing it, he can take out Edgar's, who's a threat to his power, right? Because I think he's doing something nefarious against telepaths, and he could also have him try and take out Sheridan too. And it's kind of he's a twofer. By manipulating Garibaldi, he can achieve two different objectives with Garibaldi at the same time, possibly. That's my theory, anyways. And I think Bester ultimately, I think it's Bester's people were ultimately the ones that did manipulate Garibaldi and pushed him to separate himself from the Babylon 5 crew and ultimately want to leave Babylon 5. So
there is one thing, because we haven't mentioned it yet. Early on, in the very beginning of the episode, when Bester shows up, this is what I like about Walter. He plays this so well. With the jabs on there. And when he gets to talking about Mr. Allen to one of the security guards, he says maybe he needs some fiber to this whole situation. And the guard's like, "Mind your own business." And he's like, "Humanity is my business." And the guy's like, "Marley, Scrooge, Dickens, Christmas Carol."
Yeah.
Well, it's good to see that they're continuing the fine tradition of hiring from the shallow end of the gene pool.
Yeah. Right. Because that's his supremacism coming out.
Right.
Besides the "I want your body" later on with Lita.
Well, the "I want your body," I think that was a comedic way. No, not that way. No, I want it for science because I'm sure you're going to die before me. Right? It's like Lita's younger than him, and it's like, really?
And the other line that he had with her is like, I mean, being a freedom fighter, it's a force for good. It's a wonderful thing, but you make your own hours. It looks good on the resume, but the pay sucks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He
Kind of
played.
like being,
he plays
being a
Bester.
live streamer.
I think I like Bester, his character of Bester, almost better than Chekhov. You know,
Well, so does he.
it's very close, but I think the way he plays Bester, I think he likes playing a bad guy. I think he did really good at it. You know.
Well, there's more depth to Bester than there ever was to Chekhov. Chekhov
He was
serves
just
a
the
very
Russian guy.
specific person. Serves a very specific purpose. He was there to cater the Monkees crowd, the Beatles crowd.
Yeah.
He's Davy Jones with a bad accent and a terrible wig. And there's not very much for Chekhov as a character to do.
You play
And
Wessels.
Bester's got a ton more dimension and layers to him than Chekhov ever did.
Oh yeah.
All right,
definitely.
let's go back to Cam to put us back on track.
Okay, well, did we cover everything in regards to the Bester's offer with Lita? I'm sorry, I didn't. Let's review that.
She has to put the pin, the gloves back on, and then of course sign away. You know.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about this? I mean, Bester seems to be pretty honest about what he's looking for here, right? And his log, kind of says, "I got what I wanted," which is, Lita, and on the other side, is this a good deal for Lita? It's like she basically gets the cover of Psycor without having to be part of Psycor.
It kind of is a good deal for her, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the whole, you get my, but she knows, and Bester knows. Look, the Vorlons did something to you, and we need to know that for the betterment of our people, right? Again, the supremacist thing,
right? And it's like, well, yeah, you're dead, and it doesn't matter to
Bester's-
you anymore, but you might be
Bester's
helping,
betterment.
some potentially huge evil movement, right?
And which
of
is
course.
why she refuses initially, right?
I'd rather eat a bullet. Is what she said.
I mean, she doesn't say, but yeah, that's a good assumption. But Bester's also significantly older than Lita too. Is this applied to Psycor or just Bester?
The other thing too, I think, is Lita's rejection of Bester's offer almost feels like a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, the whole I'd rather take a bullet is a little bit more considered a response. But she hasn't read the contract yet. She doesn't know exactly what's in it, what he's asking for. But he sits there and says, "Look, if X happens, this whole thing is null and void. You have to die of natural causes."
Right.
And
Clause
you're
14,
out here.
we're
Look, let's be honest, which would imply that there's something else that Bester actually wants, because if this contract is null and void if she dies other than natural causes, which is likely given where she is, then he probably knows that he's not going to get her body for research at the end because she doesn't die of natural causes. In which case, what is he actually after? Because if he's giving her carte blanche to do what she's already doing on her own, completely independent, you can go rogue, you can do whatever you can, just wear the pin and wear the gloves. I don't care what you do otherwise. Just do your thing. There's another objective there.
There's a missing piece of the puzzle.
There's a missing piece of the puzzle.
This is a false flag. Yeah. The Lita stuff is secondary. It's an excuse for him to get there to hide his real objective, which has something to do with Garibaldi, I would assume.
I don't
remember
know.
what he said. I got what I wanted.
Right. Lita is a bonus.
Well, maybe, but
he did. I think he actually did say, and I got her too. That's a bonus. So today was a good day, because I think his main objective was to manipulate Garibaldi into pushing him. He did the scan just to get Garibaldi's feathers ruffled, to get him even more pissed off because now he's in trouble again. He's getting himself into trouble, and so I think he's pretty much convinced that I've got no choice. I've got to get out of here because I can no longer, you know.
There is something in that scene that doesn't play out.
Is it Zach?
It's Zach, because when Garibaldi confronts him, throws Bester up against the wall and all of that stuff, and everybody clears out. Bester turns the corner. He's
Smiling,
this grin on his face.
Yep.
He's like, ah, ha, ha, I got him. And then he turns around and Zach's standing right there. He's like, hi. And nothing after that. We don't see what we don't.
I think it's a breadcrumb. That's a breadcrumb.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I think
it's a future episode, but I also don't see why Bester tweaking Garibaldi. What does this get him? Garibaldi's already pissed enough at him, so
yeah.
Garibaldi spends a night in the tank, maybe for attempted assault, and then they let him go or something. And nothing's
well, and
happen.
Again, that goes
so
back
what's the
to
deal?
That goes back to this whole Garibaldi plot spinning out so slowly,
exactly,
and so incrementally, with hardly any development. I mean, we got repeats of repeats of repeats at this point. It's time to fish or cut bait.
And I think he's been driving enough wedges. We've already had these wedges, and it's like, okay, guys, there's more than enough wedges. We can split this log now.
Yeah, I want this. I want this whole thing. I want this whole arc to be done.
Yeah.
Like I said, 8 episodes left.
Okay.
So see what happens in 8 episodes.
Try to spoil.
I don't want it.
No, I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying it's an 8 episode a season. Like I said, they've been compressing everything.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't want it. Well, it's decompression. It's basically stretching the whole thing out. I don't want it to take 8 episodes to have a resolution of this arc. I'll say that right now. If we have to go to the end of this season before this whole Garibaldi thing is wrapped up, I will flip a table. It is so annoying to see this thing crawl when all of these other. I mean, the Minbari Civil War is over. The War with the Shadows is over. I figured the War with the Shadows would last at least through half the season, and they wrap it up in like the first 4 or 5 episodes. Like, oh well, that was quick.
That was supposed to go through season 4 originally.
Yeah,
that was the compression.
Why did that change? And now suddenly we're in the Minbari season war, and boom! Oh, it's done. Okay, that was quick. Now we're getting into another civil war where Sheridan's like, all right, we're gonna take the fight to them. We're gonna do 8 episodes of another civil war, and then it's gonna be done. Okay, I guess.
Cam, I would like to go, if you got nothing else, I'd like to go back to a question that Keith posed at the very beginning of
Sure.
Unless you have something else. This is the last episode. This is the last scene of this episode.
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right. So this is Keith says the last scene was very weak to me. The last scene is
Ivanova,
remind you, Ivanova comes in, she's mad, there's a bunch of civilians killed. Sheridan gives this little speech.
Yeah.
Since you asked, can I answer first?
Yeah.
I think Ivanova's part was weaker. I thought Sheridan's was fairly well presented.
Yeah.
Short version.
She didn't play it well. Unfortunately, Ivanova's character is. I think she should have been more. She was trying to exhibit anger, but it was like reckless and, the sky is falling. The sky is falling. Oh my God, the sky is falling. Instead of those.
Well, you got to remember, Clark just killed
10,000
of people.
10,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 10,000 people.
Civilians, women and children.
Right.
Okay. So what I would have expected of the stoic Russian is for her to be very tightly wound when she delivers this news to Sheridan. There have been several episodes, several scenes where Ivanova is much more demonstrative than her character has been, than what's been established for her character. You know, these wild emotional things, in swings right there in the middle of everything. She's the stoic Russian, right? She's the one that stays in. She's the Vulcan on the station, right? She keeps everything tight to the vest. She doesn't let loose. She doesn't let her hair down. And I think her coming in, storming in, and waving and gesticulating, and all this emotional stuff is out of character for her. She should be just,
yeah, go ahead.
Just ready to burst. This energy is so contained, is so tightly wound. You think she's just going to punch a hole in the wall next, and you don't know where that energy is about to go.
Remember,
she's
she set back on Sheridan. I'm going to quote this directly from the script. Excuse me, Sheridan. This stops, and it stops now. You tell the others, starting right now, we fight back, and we fight back hard. Ivanova, I thought you were looking for some other way than firing at our own ships. They were following orders. Any crew that executes an order like that is guilty of war crimes, and they deserve whatever they get. Now we're riding in, Susan. Anyone who wants to defect and join us, fine. If they get in our way, we'll knock them down. If they kill one of our ships, we'll kill 3 of theirs, and we'll keep going. We'll never slow down. We won't stop. Now we're going after the colonies, then Mars, then Earth, and God help anyone who gets in our way.
Sure, but that's Sheridan. That's not Ivanova.
Yeah, I think
but Ivanova
Jason's
put
correct.
to the point. I thought you were looking for
Ivanova's
some other way.
Ivanova's acting like a 50s tropey hysterical woman type thing.
Yes.
That gets slapped afterwards. Get a grip on yourself type of thing. And that's not her character.
No.
I think Jason's got a good point.
Her portrayal was
coming
weak.
in on 10,000 people dead.
It's still, but it
would make anyone emotional.
The hysterics are still out of character for her.
Right.
I mean, how did she act when
this kind of reaction
when that planet when that planet was turned to goo and there was like 2 billion people on it? How did she react then?
Not with hysterics.
Like she wasn't as hysterical as she is now. Right. So, I mean, that was 2 billion people. So, I think, okay. What about Sheridan?
An emotional reaction like that from her, I would think probably I could believe it more from Zach. I could believe it more from Garibaldi. I could believe it more from Lita, Franklin. Pretty much anybody except Ivanova.
Yeah, I could believe it from Franklin for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anything about? Well, yeah, he's the hippy dippy doctor type.
Right.
What about Sheridan's speech? Any?
Oh, I thought that was great.
That was fine.
Yeah, I think that was we put an end to this, and we end this now. That we start. The end of this is we are going to put an end to this one way or the other.
It was a little melodramatic, but given Ivanova's hysterics, it was dialed back a little bit more. His felt a little speechy. I don't want to say speechy, but he's making a.
JMS likes to write these he likes to write speeches for his characters.
He's making a proclamation. It was like you make the proclamation when you all attention, all hands type of thing.
Right. That would have been
one
better.
Of your best friends.
That would have. I think you're right. If to do a Monday morning quarterback type of thing, it would have been better if he says, "We're going to end this now," and next thing you cut to a scene where he's doing a presentation on the voice of the resistance.
Next episode or speech to the group.
It's the same speech. You just put it in the media lab, not in his quarters.
Right. Him because he's talking to his Ivanova.
You do a hard cut. This is now. You do a hard cut to him on camera,
giving the speech,
and that's where you go to black.
Yep.
Guess you didn't read the next episode, did you?
No. We're not reading ahead. Well,
Well, no, not reading ahead, but
I've watched ahead a couple of times by accident, but I'm not. I'm trying.
well, no, the next episode is the name of the season. So
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
and the thing is
you know, when someone makes says the name of the movie in the middle of the movie, and they go you know?
Y'all are
Yeah.
y'all are astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
They're like, oh,
Right.
whoa.
yeah, but
But
seriously,
remember, the name of this episode is Moments in Transition.
but him,
Right,
him,
and
him,
a
him
hard
giving
cut.
that
Characters are
address,
And
The
a
characters
hard cut. A hard
Mhm.
cut is a transition in editing.
and you start
Yeah.
off with him giving this speech, and when you start the next episode, you start with the speech again, and then you carry on.
Yeah.
That's how it should play. It should fade to black with him in the middle of this speech, and doing that. With this ends now. You're either with us or you're against us, and God have mercy on anybody who gets in our way, and then fade to black. And then the next one, you do the speech. You start right there with the transmission again,
Right.
and then you carry it on. You just don't fade to black at this
Well,
point.
and halfway through that, you could change the angle so you're in the media lab while he's
Right.
doing the speech, and then you carry
Different
on the
camera.
scene from there.
Different camera, yeah.
Oh, hang on. All right, I got to deal with the dog. I'll be back.
Cam, did you have anything, or because we've kind of headed off to quarterbacking, I was going to go to that if you're good.
Yep, good to go.
All right. Well, we already started half quarterbacking the episode.
We did.
Does anybody else want to continue on to that, Jeff?
No, I think that it would have, yeah, Ivanova. I didn't like the way that her performance was in that, and I think Jason is right about some of this. It's like things got compressed, and then now they're trying to draw this other stuff. This whole Bester and Garibaldi thing is just dragging on and on and on, and it's like, let's get it on. Let's get through it, and hopefully in the next episode or two we'll find out what's going on with Garibaldi, and we'll also see what Sheridan's going to do. But yeah, that's the most. I mean, other than that, Bester's performance was great. I don't know. That's really the only thing that I would have fixed. I didn't have a problem with the whole scene of Delenn and all that stuff. But I could see where Jason maybe didn't get it, and where he didn't. I just knew something was up, and I knew he was like it was a plot, it was a plan between Delenn and Naroon to do the only way that they could that would be believable to both sides. The only solution. So,
all right, I didn't have any quarterbacking, Cam, other than what we've talked about.
Yeah, I kind of talked about it, but this whole part of the season seems to be one big quarterback. It's kind of the same thing again and again, right? Like the Garibaldi, the way that they've set up this whole storyline with Garibaldi seems off.
Yeah.
It should have been done differently. And then there's these smaller things, but in specific to this, the Naroon, traitor bit, I think is one. I think that could have been done much more smoothly and with more effectiveness. And I kind of introduce that through my questions to you guys, but yeah, that's about it.
You think he tried to cliffhang us a little bit with by not? It would have been better if they would have shown them we've got to devise a plan and blah 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 to do this, and at least give us a hint that they were devising some sort of plan, or
no, I mean that would have given it away too much. I think it's like I think it would have been better, honestly, if they left Naroon being a little bit more wild card. And Jason kind of brought that up. It's like, well, maybe Naroon does. It's like, yeah, sure, I'll go along with your plan. That's going to eliminate you and my rival in the thing, and I'm going to take over. Maybe that would have been the nature of the traitor thing. It's like Delenn comes up with this plan that is going to result in her death. And Naroon's like, okay, I'll go along with it for the good of the Minbari, which could be true.
Remember, Naroon doesn't think she's going to die because he says, "Hey, she's supposed to come out after he comes out."
Yeah, Right. That's why this is quarterbacking, is what I'm saying. Is it could have been done differently. So we could have had a credible belief that Naroon was also working in his own best interest. It's like, fine, this is going to end up with me being the leader, and then at the end, he's like,
He doesn't.
no, I didn't realize. I didn't understand. I understood what she was going to do and why, but I didn't understand the depth of what I was missing. And now I do. I've seen it. I've seen it played out in front of me, and she's the one who needs to survive, not me.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a better enter, because again, even when they were meeting in the last episode, when it was like, yeah, they kind of have this mutual respect thing, but it was like, it was grudging still. It wasn't like, oh, I just love you now, kind of thing. And they could have carried that out to the end and had a really strong impact. It wasn't bad, but it could have been way better. And that's kind of what I feel about this overall is this show in rewatching it now, these 30 years later, is that it's still good, but it's like, I just, and I that's why I asked before about, I wonder if JMS thinks this. It's like, if I had this to do over again, would I have done it differently? It'd be fascinating.
Remember that to this point, we are, what's the month on this? We are in May. By September, Primetime Network will have folded. Chris Kraft will have walked away to go work with Paramount to create UPN. The whole entire network collapses in literally months at this point. So whatever's left of the Babylon 5 series at this point, like I said, it is compressed, to get out of this storyline.
Yeah.
As far as JMS is going,
because he's trying to get it through before they fall. He knows the fall is coming.
In other words, even though season 5 is over at TNT, which that's another tale in itself, and another,
I'm sure we'll get into it soon enough.
We'll get into it, but it's that's another it's like F you to TNT for the things they did to Babylon 5 at that point, it's stupidity. Right. But, it like I said, there are some things that could have been improved into this episode. I liked the episode. It was very good from the Minbari end to that point. It could have been some changes quarterbacking this, tweak here and there. Would it have improved it? I think it would still be the same as far as quality and onto there. I don't think we could change much.
If we're all good quarterbacking, we'll go to final thoughts. Yeah. All right. Jason, do you want to start with final thoughts? We'll work our way up. Final thoughts in the episode, score, if you want.
I don't know that I got much to add to what I've already said. I think the Minbari Civil War thing plays out pretty much the way you expect it to. Probably could have gotten a little bit more depth on the Naroon thing, but it is what it is. The Garibaldi thing, I'm gonna beat that dead horse as much as I can. The Garibaldi thing is boring me now. It's not quite yet a visceral reaction when I see Garibaldi on screen. But I'm getting there. And I think part of it has to do with the fact that the title sequence still has him listed as Security Chief Michael Garibaldi. So I know that at some point we're going to return back to status quo. I'm just waiting for that shoe to drop. It's like, get on with it already. Other than that, I thought the episode was fine.
What do you give it?
7 out of 10, I guess.
Okay.
Jeff.
Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. Yes, there were some things that were lacking. I think, like I mentioned, Ivanova's performance was a little, at the very end, was a little weak. It could have been done. It could have been done differently. And I'm sure it wasn't her. It was a directing issue. Bester's performance was awesome. He was on the spot. Garibaldi's, it would have been like Jason said, this has been dragging on. His performance has been good. We get it. There's a wedge. He's driving a wedge between Garibaldi and Babylon 5. He's trying to get, I think he's trying to get Garibaldi convinced. Bester's trying to get Garibaldi to convince himself that he needs to just leave and go to Mars or go to whatever, and so that he can carry on, Bester's subconscious plans that he's planted in there, whatever they may be. Sheridan's speech, again, like we said, I think it would have been better had it been a broadcast instead of him talking just to Ivanova. It was a very motivational speech to one person. It was like, what? This would have been better as a voice of the resistance type of broadcast.
Not only that, it's a policy shift.
Right. It's a major shift. So yeah. The Minbari stuff, I was okay with the way it worked. I could see what we mentioned in the quarterbacking as being an alternative way to do it, where maybe Nehruun really did he was going to do a double, and in the end he had a change of heart and realized, but I think we've also seen his character arc, and we do see it come to an end at this point because he gets destroyed, right? But he ultimately did give himself, and I thought it was fitting that that Delenn said this place here, this place will remain empty in honor of Nehruun until the one that is to come takes his rightful place, or takes their rightful place. And that does leave me a question: is she still like the position that Ducat was in with the Great Council? I kind of think maybe she is still, but but she's not going to occupy that space in honor of his sacrifice, what he did for all the Minbari people. Overall, you guys knocked me down. I was going to give it a 9, but I think that's a little high. I think I'll give it like a 8.5. 8.5. Yeah, 8.5. It was a good episode. Shut up. Shut up, Al.
When he tests the burger.
Oh, Lord. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Don't do boo, boo, boo.
Yes, Keith. Tony Dow was Wally in Leave It to Beaver, and he directed 5 episodes of Babylon 5, including this one, 3 in this season, I think 2 in season 5.
And my God, we got Scott Adams as a cameo. It was corny, and his cat and dog are trying to take over the universe, right? So more power to him.
Mad Men.
I'm going to be a little bit more nicer to this episode because I didn't really enjoy this episode, especially rest in peace Nehruun. One of my like I said again, one of my favorite characters on this show. Honorable Minbari who went out as an honorable Minbari. To the point, the whole Minbari Civil War situation, I did like the ending to this and how it's handled. To the point, I don't agree that with Jeff saying that Delenn's leading the council. It's again what Zathras had said, not Zathras, that she's the one now, meaning that she's the head of the Rangers still. She's leading to that point. She's the center of the story itself. Now she's given the new Grey Council charge to run the planet the way it should be run at that point, which that's what I got from this episode on there. Could there have been some, like I said, could there have been some improvements on there? The Ivanova, the Garibaldi, it's all part of the story. It's all the link. Some of it was good, some of it, and we said this is a compressed story coming down. As I said, the P10 network is going to be gone in a couple of months. So basically, literally, all the shows that were under that banner were having a lot of problems at this point. And this was not the only show that was part of the P10 network. There was the Kung Fu series that the remake that suffered also, as well as in scripting as well. But I give this one about a 9 out of 10 on this one.
Cam.
Okay, I actually enjoyed this episode fairly well, despite the criticisms that I had of it. But I don't think it's, a particularly strong standout either. So I'm going to say it's like a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10. And that, I'm forced to think about, some of the bigger issues here. And it's like the Minbari Civil War just doesn't make all that much sense to me. That it was taken to that level of being open warfare. It's like, to accomplish what? You have a war to accomplish specific tasks. And it was just, it was like using a sledgehammer, when a scalpel would have sufficed.
Well, let me ask you this, Cam, real quick. Would it have sufficed to have a scalpel? Because basically, you have this power vacuum with the Grey Council being gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an opportunity there for the warrior class to finally rise up and take charge, take command, because the religious caste has held us back all these years, and now it's time for us to get ours. I can see the Civil War happening. It resolves a lot faster than it probably should have.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But I think that, and I don't disagree with you about the conflict. I think that long-standing conflict, that started before the show, does need to be resolved. And I do like the end way that they resolved it with the reconstituting of the Great Council.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that they did it, well, basically just murdering people, it undercut, these things that Minbari society openly pronounces as being, their beliefs. Minbari don't kill other Minbari. Well, they're killing them. It makes them so clearly the bad guy to the other two, that it just didn't seem credible to me, so that's one of the reasons I don't like it. And as I mentioned, the Garibaldi thing is just so uneven and not really done well. So I have a hard time, ranking these things higher when we're in the midst of all that stuff.
Right.
Snob, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with most of what people have said here. All the points have been made. I kind of like the stuff with Lita, seeing a little bit more of her. Overall, I did enjoy the episode, but there are some problems. And I was leaning the same as Cam. I was leaning at a 7. I might be convinced to give it a 7.5 just to be nice. But like Lita, Minbari Civil War. I agree with Jason. How else was it going to end? The Garibaldi thing is going, on too long. But I'm happy that we're seeing a bit of a crumb towards the end of it. I'm hoping the next episode or two will give us, some end to this. But we'll see. So 7. All right. Okay. Great. Excellent. Okay. Let's do trivia and then we'll get out of here. Okay. So trivia for next episode. The questions that I put out, I may have answered all of them here. How many civilians does President Clark kill? I don't mean personally, of course.
I did say it.
What is the name of the Minbari warrior caste leader? We've mentioned his name a couple times. What is the name of the beam that Delin steps into? Someone mentioned that one.
Mm-hmm.
What piece of fiction does Bester quote? We've mentioned that. Where do the religious caste confirm their surrender? I don't think we named I'll give you a hint. It's a temple. We don't think we named it, but 4 of those 5 questions would be pretty easy to get for everybody. All right. What's going on? Very quickly, Jason, what do you got going on Sci-Fi for Me TV?
At the moment, I don't. We did a thing today. Not going to have a show tomorrow because I've got to take a friend to the doctor. Who is not
Who's not Mindy?
not Mindy. I did
Excellent.
a dentist appointment this morning, but we got to I got to take a friend of Mindy's to the doctor tomorrow. But we've just been doing headlines. We just and 3 hours, man. Mouse number 30 has been relocated. We posted some more video of the dogs wrestling today. You guys can check that out. We've had a couple of Sydney Sweeney updates this week. I actually forgot today to cover the new the Calvin Klein news. We'll probably talk about that on Friday, but yeah, we just been rolling right along.
All right. Excellent. Jeff.
Well, this Sunday we're gonna be talking with some folks we're gonna be talking about a fair, in this case a Ren fair. I have never been to one, and there's one that's actually coming into town, and I'm gonna talk to these folks all about it. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's coming up later on this month here in the town that I live in, and these folks, this is the first time they put one on, but they do travel a circuit of a bunch of them. They do leather works and stuff, so it's going to be kind of cool. And apparently, there's a lot of overlap with tabletop gamers. So,
all right, awesome. I'll mention Dean, who's also on here sometimes in place of Madman. He's got Destiny's Dispatch in his indie game spotlight. Check them out. They're pushing to launch their Kickstarter pretty soon. I think October, I believe, with their game Untold Destiny. So go check them out. And of course, Outpost Nerd, who's been putting out a couple of videos on what was the video today? It was or the other day. It was on Help Me Out Here, Madman.
Did he just put something out on lanterns?
Popcorn buckets. He did one on popcorn buckets.
Forgotten Movie Gems is that's his,
and Movie Gems is the other one. Yeah,
that's a good. That should be good. I have not watched one of those yet. I got to watch those. So check those out. Madman, what's going on with your show? You coming back?
Next week we starting our 9th year here on YouTube on QTCast TV. Fall season premiere, Madman Cafe, back on Tuesday. Madman with the show back for its 9th season this week. We were looking at the Granick Act, the FTC lawsuit against YouTube. MeTV going to be opening up another channel. Let's hope it's a sci-fi. That's coming soon. We're also monitoring the Space King Kickstarter. Looks like it's on its way to 4 million on the Kickstarter right now, which is it's amazing that how much money they have raised so far, and we got a lot more coming. Crunchyroll video tomorrow, so do check that out, 6 p.m. Eastern.
By the way, just real quick, if I can interject, there was a question that was asked early on in the show from Keith that I think I should address. James Hunt. There are 2 of them. One of them is my 24-year-old son. The other one is the race car driver. My son is not the race car driver.
He's not?
No, he's not.
Aww.
As a matter of fact, this race car driver was played by Chris Hemsworth in the movie Rush, which was really interesting. Like, well, Chris Hemsworth plays James Hunt. I was like, excuse me? Wait, what? But yeah, he was. I think he was he was a Formula One race car driver. So yes, Keith, James Hunt is a race car driver. He's also my son. They're not the same person. So just get that.
No relation. No relation.
No relation. No. And I am also not related to the Hunt family of the Kansas City Chiefs. So.
Or the ketchup magnet, right? Ketchup,
right.
tomato sauce magnet.
Not the ketchup bottles either. Sadly.
All right. Oh, that's disappointing. Right. Well,
I know, right? I mean,
way to end the show on a high note.
What about this Looney Tunes stuff, man?
Okay, and this Sunday, we're going to be doing Star Trek at 60, talking about the various eras of Star Trek on the Top Lofty Lounge. We may have a guest for that. Maybe the guest
I could have to be there.
the guest has not been confirmed yet.
And don't forget, throughout the weekend at AMC Theaters and Cinemark, Star Trek movies will be playing with Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, the Star Trek 4 combo just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah,
Well, they're doing the 8th. They're going to play all 4 movies together.
Right. Yeah, they're going to do. Well, not every location is going to do that because they're not doing. Apparently, there's not a theater here in Kansas City that's doing the marathon. But putting City on the Edge of Forever with The Voyage Home is such a tone shift. I get it; they're both time travel, but Return to Tomorrow would work so much better in that slot because it's also time travel, but it's also tongue-in-cheek time travel. But that's just me.
Well, at least they left Space Seed with the Wrath of God.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, what else are you gonna put there? But yeah.
Obviously. Have you seen the popcorn bucket for it yet?
I have. Yeah.
The Enterprise.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as I know, Cinemark put a video out with it. As far as I know, they're already out, available in the wild. So I imagine they'll sell quickly.
And don't go and see Star Trek if you're going to miss the Top Off the Lounge, of course. Don't do that. And of course, next week, here's our general show. And next week, of course, we're doing the titular episode of this season: No Surrender, No Retreat.
Why do you still have the season 3 card?
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. What
we're what 2/3 into season 4, and you haven't changed it yet.
I guess that is something for me to do this week. I guess
time travel.
I'll give you the one I got if you want.
Time travel. That's my excuse. Cam, do you got anything?
No, as usual. I just kind of go where I'm told. So,
all right, carry on with that. Okay, that's it for the show, everybody. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope we'll see you next week for episode 15. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.